Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable from London. I'm back, quote unquote, home for a few days. I have a birthday trip coming up, so I'm here for, I was going to say not a long time, but a good time. Not so much. It's the 4th of July that I'm recording. It is a miserable, horrible weather day in London. I haven't left the house all day. It's been raining, like everything from a light drizzle to a torrential downpour. The sun tried to come out earlier and then just like gave up. But it's like just a miserable, cold, windy rain, like a fall winter rain, not like a sexy summer rain. This is not what Carl Thomas sang about. It's absolutely miserable here. Had I known the weather was like this, I would have just stayed in Budapest because the weather there was delightful, lovely. Whole city was. Budapest was quite the pleasant surprise. I did not know I was going to end up falling in love with that city. Who knew? I guess all the people that had been to Budapest before, but I had never been. And now I want to go back, especially for them damn cookies. I'm never going to stop talking about those cookies. It's a new part of my life. It's changed me. But yeah, like I don't have anything to report about London because I literally have done a bunch of nothing. I got back Sunday night and one of my friends was in town. She's based out of Ghana. I went to meet her for lunch. It was a place near my house, so I just like walked over. It was like 10 minutes. And while we were having brunch, it started raining. I'd actually planned to like run a few errands and maybe do a little bit of shopping. I need to get a new pair of sneakers. Walking around God's green earth like 9-12 miles a day in sandals, even though I have cushiony sandals, I'm like, this is not working. I need reinforcements. It started raining while we were wrapping up lunch. And I was like, so back to the house it is. And then, I got my hair out. So if it rains when I have braids, I don't really think nothing about it. But I was like, the least bit of humidity and this twist out goes poof. It must be retwisted before it dries or else it gets all like tangled and whatever. And I was like, I don't anybody trying to deal with that. I just go home. And I didn't have my umbrella. It was a lot. And then today, like, it's just been so nasty outside. On the way back from lunch, I did pass the grocery store. So I picked up some things just to have like some food in the house. I didn't realize I was going to, not be leaving the house. So I would have picked up some wine if that was the case. But I think I had enough wine in Budapest. I need to dry out. Yeah, that's my 4th. I wish I had more joy to report. I've seen all the people living it up down at Essence. Activated my FOMO. I saw Oprah was down at Essence. She's promoting the color purple. So she was there with Fantasia and Taraji and Danielle Brooks. I feel like there was somebody else in the mix who's just escaping me right now. But they were all over Essence promoting the movie. I think it comes out, don't get me to lying, I want to say it comes out this fall. But given the promo that they're doing, I'm like, does it come out earlier than that? Actually, let's just look it up. When does the Color Purple musical come out? January 20th. Oh, that's for the UK. January 26, 2024. When does it come out in America? It releases in America December 25th. Okay. Yeah, they're doing promo mad early. I'm reading that the first trailer dropped in May. Yeah, that sounds about right. That trailer was amazing. Everybody and their mother was in it. Remember we were shocked? We were like, wait, not Chloe, what's the other one? The mermaid. Halle. Halle's in it. I'm excited about it. I would have found a way to meet Oprah if I was at Essence. I'm just saying. Actually, technically, I met Oprah. I spoke with Oprah in person. We met, but I don't have a picture with Oprah. I want a picture with Oprah. You know how I feel about the color purple. I mean, about like how everybody, well, not so much men, but women feel about the color purple. I used to spend Christmas with my best friend. I would go up to Harlem and we would get Chinese food because he had like the most amazing Chinese spot next door to him. We would get cheap Chinese food and expensive champagne. And we would spend Christmas hanging out, watching movies. And he mentioned one time, I said something about the color purple. And he was like, I've never seen it. And I was like, you've never seen it on Broadway? And he was like, no, I've never seen the movie. And I was like, you've never seen the color purple? And I was like, well, that's what we're watching today. And he was like, sure. All right, sure. He was riveted. Like he was angry at Mister. He cried at the end when Nettie came back. Like he really had a moment with it. And he was like, that was a really beautiful film. And he's not really a dude that speaks like that. Like he's not like an overly emotional person, but he straight up cried and wasn't ashamed. Like he was moved. And I was like, The Color Purple has that effect on people. I've seen the movie so many times. I saw it on Broadway at least 2 times, maybe 3. Actually, as a matter of fact, I know for sure I saw it for 3. Because I saw it when it first came out, and then I saw it again with Cynthia Erivo, because she wasn't the original Celie. And then I saw it again because I hosted a talk back with the cast. And Jennifer Hudson was in the show then. I'm very, very excited about The Color Purple. I heard Jonathan Majors, not even heard, I saw pictures. One of the listeners of the podcast, because we talk about Jonathan Majors a lot, right? So one of the listeners for the pod DM'd me and she was like, girl, I'm at this panel with Benjamin Crump about reforming the justice system. And Megan Good just showed up for the panel. She was a last minute addition. And she showed up in like some spandex shorts and a t-shirt. And then Jonathan Majors is in the front row clapping way too hard every time Megan says something. The woman described, she was like, she's not saying anything like profound or deep. She's not embarrassing herself, but she was like, this doesn't appear to be, her lane. It's just sort of like, why are you here? And last minute at that, she was like, I never associated Megan Good with like, I don't know, criminal justice reform. It's just not what I think of when I think of her. But okay. But she was like, yeah, so he's walking around Essence being with the black women. And I was like, oh, all right. In the court of public opinion, I was like, sir, you need to get yourself a good Essence sit down and explain yourself to black women. Explain yourself to the Black Women's Publication and see if you can put together a story that makes some sense and convince the people that you're innocent. I'm just saying, maybe. Because his lawyer, we're not talking about that again. There's no new news in that case, so there's no need to rehash it. But his lawyer's trash. God. I saw Jill Scott. She did a special rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. Very much Strange Fruit vibe. Basically, America treats black people like shit, and now I'm going to sing about it on stage at Essence. Apparently, I read that she's been doing this rendition of the Star Spangled Banner for a while at her concerts. I can't remember the last time I went to a Jill Scott concert. Fun fact, don't tell nobody. I only really like Jill Scott's first album. I might like a song or two off of all the additional ones. I'm not really like the biggest Jill Scott fan. Like I don't not like her voice. I think she has a beautiful voice. It's just not really, not a fan. I root for Jill Scott. Like I'm an Erykah Badu fan, like despite the shit that she says, like, cause her music just speaks to me. Jill Scott, not so much. It just, after the first album, no. But she sang her ass off of that Star Spangled Banner because she can sing. I saw Essence had a little drama. The case is dismissed. So I don't know if it's worth rehashing, but there was a small black-owned bookstore in New Orleans, and they were booking authors for Essence Fest. And the version of events that I read, Essence got wind of the bookstore doing events and told them to stop. And they were like, why? We haven't done anything wrong. So I guess they got a cease and desist, and they continued. And then I think Essence hit them with like an official lawsuit. But it's since been dismissed, according to the owners of the small bookstore. But a lot of people got involved championing the small bookstore. I think it was a case of people felt like it was like, this big mega corporation Essence, which I promise you Essence doesn't think of itself that way, but that's a whole separate story. But going after, like the small guys, like a David versus Goliath sort of thing. I think this was a situation, just from the details that I've heard that I've now relayed to you. I think this is a situation where if folks had really just got on the phone, pick up a landline. Same thing we said for like Anita and Babyface. Like folks sometimes just need to get on the landline phone with the cord and have a conversation. I think this was a case of folks just needed to talk. So every year for Essence, and not just for Essence, but I think this happens anytime like a big event or festival comes and it's a festival that sort of takes over a city. There's always events around the festival that are not officially festival sanctioned. Essence being what it is, people throw tons of events that are not official Essence events that have no affiliation with Essence whatsoever, but they're always thrown during Essence weekend. And very often people put on a flyer something like, in town for Essence Fest, like come party with us. Here are the celebrities that we have that are hosting these parties, or authors that are doing book signings, or people who are down there like selling clothes. Essence has like their vendor station in the convention center. Like that's the official thing. But for years and years, I mean, like literally the last 10, there's literally a hotel. I think it's either a Hyatt or a Marriott that's right across the street from the convention center. Someone always books out that ballroom and they sell clothes literally across the street. So you get all of the people that are going to and from the convention center. You get that foot traffic. House of Blues, one of my friends rents them out and they throw like a big party in there because their core audience is in town. Lots of people who do branded parties just, come to Essence and do their version of the party for Essence Music Festival. It's a thing. When I was, doing books, like I would always do signings officially for Essence and then also like off-site. I think in this case, and this is just based on what I've read, I think the bookstore may have, I don't want to say misrepresented because it sounds facetious and I don't necessarily think that it was. I think that maybe the way that they branded their event was misleading, but it may not have been intentionally so. So the version of the story that's my understanding is that this bookstore reached out to authors and booked them for events way in advance. And when Essence was pulling together its author panel, the authors were confused because they were like, wait, what? Like, we're already doing an Essence event. And they were like, no, this is the only Essence event. And they were like, no, the Essence event is XYZ. That's what I think the issue was. So like a bookstore doing an event during Essence Festival, it's standard, it's common, it happens all the time. I think it was the case that maybe some authors were confused. Maybe there was some messaging from the bookstore that wasn't very clear, but people believed that they were doing an official Essence event when it wasn't. It's not just that you're doing an event. It's that however this event has been marketed, whatever has been said, whatever has been communicated to the public or to these authors, people think that they're attending an official event from Essence, and it's not. And it's a huge problem when Essence is calling and people are like, oh no, I'm already booked for an Essence event. Like, who are you? As if Essence isn't really Essence. That's the understanding I had of the issue. I think it didn't have to get to the point where, lawsuits and lawyers and things of that nature were involved. I think if, a phone call had been had, Essence could have achieved their goals and the bookstore could have as well. And I think, to be honest, they both lost out because for a good chunk of the weekend, I was reading about this story on different blogs and people are dragging Essence. The common denominator of the critique was, how do you call yourself a publication or a brand in support of Black people and of Black culture, specifically Black women, but then you go sue this mom and pop bookstore and they've invested time, money, effort, energy into this event, and now it can't happen, and they have nothing to show for it. Although it might turn out to be a blessing in disguise for them, because a lot of people were like, what bookstore, huh? A bookstore, a Black-owned bookstore, where? And now people know who they are. Essence does get to do their event, but they get dragged the whole weekend. And a lot of conversation that could have been about performances or other activations or things that were going on at Essence, positive experiences, essentially. People are saying very negative things in Essence, just from a PR perspective. They might be legally right. Which are they? Because again, like the lawsuit got dismissed. So I don't know. It was like, did you not have legal standing and you took a PR hit? Like, it's not for the best. They'll survive it. But, again, a lot of shit can just be handled with landline phone calls. Just being like, hey, you misrepresenting to the point that, we asking people to do this thing and the people ain't available for the thing. Like, there could have been an opportunity for collaboration. Like, look, you done booked these people. We trying to get the people. Like, why don't you just come host your thing with us and we'll blah, blah, blah. Like, there's opportunities there. I'm sure it's not that simple, but suing them ain't simple either. So, yeah. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. There are so many times in my life where I felt uncertain about where I'm headed or what the right path is to get to where I think I want to go. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this way. So, whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. You know, because you listen to this podcast, that I am a gigantic advocate of therapy. I think everyone should have some, especially the people that think they don't need it. And for the people that know they do, don't wait until you're in a crisis to seek professional help. Therapy is amazing for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for people who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I love how easy BetterHelp makes it to receive professional help. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/ratchet today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ratchet. When I started my first writer's room, I was extremely nervous. It was something I'd never done before and something I wanted to be really, really good at. I was surprised at how much I knew and how much I understood, all because I'd taken Masterclass with Shonda Rhimes and Aaron Sorkin. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best, anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. Annual memberships start at $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insights, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from. Everything from learning confidence with Naomi Campbell or effective communication with Robin Roberts to how to be a great performer from Usher. And there are new classes added every month. Those TV writing classes from Shonda Rhimes and Aaron Sorkin taught me how to create great characters, how to create great plot, and how to pitch great ideas. Find practical takeaways that you can apply to your life and at work. Whatever you want to do, whether it's to become a better chef, advance your career, land a book deal, or anything else, Masterclass has you covered. Gain new skills in as little as 10 minutes, either on your phone, computer, tablet, smart TV, and even audio mode to listen on the go. I love listening when I'm going through the airport. How much do you think it would cost to take one-on-one classes from the world's best? Well, with a Masterclass annual membership, it would only cost you $10 a month. Get unlimited access to every class. And right now, as a Ratchet and Respectable listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/ratchet. That's masterclass.com/ratchet for 15% off an annual membership. Masterclass.com/ratchet. I watched this new Idris show on Apple. I swear this is like the worst promoted show ever. I didn't know there was a new show coming with Idris Elba. In fairness, I'm overseas, but Apple's not necessarily based. I mean, it is based in America, but it's not like they only target American audiences. And the show, Hijacked, is the name of it, in case you haven't heard of it either. The show is about a plane that's taking off from Dubai, headed to London, when it gets hijacked. And all the main characters in the show are British or otherwise international, Dubai. But I feel like even here, it wasn't promoted. And I was like, I know for sure Idris Elba is from here. I was like, I don't feel like I got a proper heads up that Idris Elba had a new show. Did y'all know about it? Was it heavily promoted like at home? I got a direct email from Apple TV, which I don't have. I have Apple Music and like all the other Apple stuff. But they sent me an email, I guess over the weekend, saying, check out this new show with Idris Elba. And I was like, what? Wait, what? All right, like I'll give it a shot because it's Idris Elba. I've watched most of his work. I don't love everything, but I try to, support the Black man when I can. I went on to Apple and episode 2 had been aired and we were waiting for episode 3. It came out actually today. I watched it this morning when I woke up. I was like, why y'all wait so long to tell me about a new show with Idris Elba? I didn't know. It's a good show. You know, Idris can be hit or miss sometimes. Remember the show on Netflix where he was like a DJ? It wasn't a very good show, but I watched every episode. I completely binged it just so I could look at Idris Elba. I'm shallow. I'm fine admitting that. But no, Hijacked is... I'm trying to figure out how to describe it without giving too much away. Idris Elba is not one of the hijackers. He is kind of like Samuel L. Jackson, the negotiator. He's kind of like that. And he's trying to get home from Dubai to his estranged wife and teenage son when the plane is hijacked. And of course, like, you know, Idris Elba, it's Idris Elba. He's the A-list star. Idris Elba, I think, is going to save the day. As of right now, there was an incident on board. You see how hard I'm trying not to spoil it. There was an incident on board, and I don't know what has happened to Idris Elba. Something happened, and then the scene went to black, and then like I almost threw my laptop because I was like, what? What? Now I gotta wait a whole week to find out what happened to Idris Elba. I like action hero Idris Elba. He doesn't really have a lot of lines. He does like a lot of brooding and looking and side-eyeing and observing. It's very Stringer Bellish. If you go back and watch The Wire, Stringer really only spoke in one-liners. I noticed it like my 20th watch of the show. Stringer really never says more than like 3 sentences at a time. This is similar. There's no long monologues or a bunch of dialogue back and forth. He really just doesn't say much. But I don't really think people watch Idris Elba, and he's a good actor, but I don't really think most women, at least, really watched him for his profound acting. I mean, look at him. Shit. Sometimes I just be lost looking at him and have to like rewind and be like, oh, I'm sorry. I be looking at the screen and just lose whole portions of dialogue because I was just, you know, gazing at him longingly. Sabrina is a lucky woman. But it's a good show. I think it's worth checking out. I also tried to watch Silo. They kept advertising it like before Hijack would start. Like they kept playing these clips of Silo. It's got, what is his name? David, what is his name? Starts with an O. He's from Nigeria. He played Martin Luther King in Selma. You know what I'm talking about. Ole. I'm a butcher it anyway. Him. It's another Apple show about some folks who are trapped underground. Everything about the world or their history as a people or anything has been erased since whenever their ancestors decided to start living underground. They've been down there. Did they say it was 100 years? 140 years? I don't remember. They've been down there forever and a day, and they're scared to go out into the world because they think it's dangerous and the pollution will kill them and that they're better served being underground. I only watched like the first episode and a half, and it just moved too slow for me. So there are cameras above ground that do a live feed into these spaces that would function as windows if they were above ground. But the live feed shows, allegedly live, what's going on in the real world above ground. And so what they're looking at is like really dirty and nasty. It looks something like, I don't know, what the world looked like after the Terminators blew it up. It looks like a natural disaster occurred. Okay, the end of the movie, Don't Look Up, when everything just got wiped out, that's what it looks like. Like it's real like gray and gloomy and dark and terrible. But every once in a while, some people are just like, you know what? I think they're lying to us. I think there's more going on up there. I think they're trying to hold us captive down here. And the person will be like, I want to go out. And if you say out loud that you want to go out, it's like cursing someone's grandmother. Like it's like an offense to the society. And so they make you leave. Like if you yell, I want to go out, then they'll be like, all right, fine, fuck it, go. So there's someone in the first episode that's like, I want to go out. And they leave. And she makes this bet. And she says, hey, if I go out and I do this thing, then that means everything's cool. And if I don't do this thing, that means I've made a huge mistake and it's fucking terrible here. So she went out. And then you could watch it if you want to know what she did or didn't do. It's interesting. It's an interesting premise. I want to go read the reviews and recaps of the show to find out what happened. I just don't want to watch the whole show like 9 hours. I don't want to invest 9 or 10 hours to find out very slowly where this story is going. It's just, I'm not that invested. But overall, as a premise, like, why are these people underground? And are they being lied to? I started watching The Empress on Netflix, which is really good. I went to this former royal palace, which was like mind blowing. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And they talk about the most famous inhabitant of the palace, which was this woman, Queen, actually Elizabeth, who everyone called Sissy. And basically, she never wanted to marry the king. Her older sister was actually supposed to marry the king and had been groomed for it. She tags along with her mother and sister when the sister goes to meet the king. And the king was like, yeah, I'll get married, but I'm not marrying the older sister. I want the younger one. I think the girl was like 15, 16 at the time. So she marries the king because she doesn't have a choice. She pops out 4 kids in quick succession and was like, yes, I've given you your heir and a bunch of spares. Y'all can just go ahead and leave me the fuck alone because I ain't doing queen shit no more. And they were like, you're the queen. You have to. And she was like, I'm the queen. The fuck I do. So she would bounce. Like, she would be gone for like months at a time. She'd be like, oh, I'm sick. This weather's not good for me. And then people would complain, be like, how the queen ain't never in Vienna? Like, how's she going to be the queen? So she would come back and walk around in all black all the time. She didn't want nothing to do with her kids. She hated all of them except, I want to say, the youngest girl. She would entertain her. So I go to this castle and I learn all about Sissy, like from the audio guide. And they were like, oh, yeah. And so, like, you know, this is the summer palace. And I was like, I'm sorry. This gigantic place that I'm in right now, this is just, they only summer here. So at the city palace, which was actually like less crazy than the summer palace. You would think like the main palace that you lived in most of the time would be like where you really did your stunting at. But, you know, that's just me and my brokenness thinking that. So they have a whole separate exhibit just about this lady's life in the Vienna palace. It's only like maybe 6 rooms, but it's like a lot of information. So it took me like an hour and a half to get through. The woman had a fascinating life. She hated everyone. She was completely miserable. She did not want to be royalty and she yearned to die. And then someone eventually took her out of her misery. So I find this all fascinating. And I like do a quick recap of it on social media about Queen Sissy and how miserable she was. People were like, why does this story sound so familiar? And they were like, isn't this like a story on Netflix? So one of the things in the exhibit, the one specifically about Sissy, was when she was alive, people thought she was eccentric. People thought she was weird, like the all black thing. She doesn't like her kids. She's never in town. She acts like she don't want to be queen because she didn't. Vienna at the time censored its news. So the press didn't write very much about her. But she was known to be a very pretty woman. She was incredibly thin. She's like 5'8". She had a 20-inch waist. She avoided food. They insisted the woman wasn't anorexic, but I was like, she's 5'8" and 90 pounds. That don't sound like an eating disorder to you? This is different times. Okay. But they say like after the woman died, she was murdered, she becomes this like international figure and people like make statues of her. They make paintings of her. They actually refer to her as like the Princess Diana of her time to put her in perspective. But after she passes away, then this whole new narrative comes about this big, bright woman full of life and energy, and it's sucked dry because she never wanted to be a royal. They just totally reconfigure her into like almost this angelic type woman, or they tell this more realistic story, which is the one that I just conveyed to you about her brooding and depression and troubled, but troubled women who hate their lives always make for like good narrative. But they were talking about like the number of statues that were erected from her, the number of paintings, the way she was talked about in the press, the books that were written about her, the number of stories that she inspired. And I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like they were inspired in like Vienna. As soon as I started telling the story on social media, people were like, there is a Netflix show about this woman. The lady been dead since like 1850. The Netflix show came out last year. People were like, it was really good too. I'm waiting on season 2. Really? So I started watching it. It really is good. I haven't made it all the way through yet, but it's fascinating. It's not giving Bridgerton budget, but it's giving good budget. Speaking of budget, did you see Marjorie and Steve? They're celebrating their anniversary. Marjorie came out in some white silk. It had to be silk. It was beautiful. It was light. It moved. She didn't appear to have a wind machine, but that thing was flowing. She released the fabric. It was giving like old Hollywood glamour. I think there were like some white feathers on the sleeves. It was like, oh, God, they spend money so good. I have a friend that's equally as obsessed with Marjorie as I am. I sent the Instagram clip to her and I was like, girl, did you see our girl? And she was like, do you know how many millions they are leaving on the table for Marjorie not to have a book out? I mean, how to finesse, how to level up, how to change your life. People be like, give me the Sierra prayer. Give me whatever Marjorie Harvey did. Is it a prayer? Is it a scam? Is it an outline? Is it 48 laws of power? Like, what is it, Marjorie? Well, how did you do it? I want to know. They spend money so good. If you go and spend it, some people be like, you need to save it. You need to invest it. You need to grow it. It's not like their kids not going to have generational wealth. Steve makes enough where they can stunt sometimes. But they spend money so good. They put some images from their anniversary on the Instagram and they did stunt upon us. Like, it was glorious. Glorious. People be like, why do you like this woman? Like, do you know her history? Yes, I do. Do you see her present? People be very fixated on folks' past. Do you see her present? Do you see her legacy? Oh, God. I love the Marjorie as much as I love the Lori. Sex and the City, and Just Like That. The new Sex and the City, I told you I'm not calling it by its new name. The first 2 episodes I thought were kind of awful. The 3rd episode redeemed itself a little bit. It's better. The first 2 were bad. It's better. So I know I dragged the first 2 episodes, but because I dragged them, I want to come back and say like the 3rd one was much better. And hopefully this is the direction that the show will continue to go in. I hope it's only up from here. Because I was like, as much as I love these characters, I will stop watching the show. Or I will just fast forward unless Nicole Ari Parker is on my screen. Che and Miranda could really go for real. I could probably tolerate everybody else. Seema. I really like Seema. But Carrie, Charlotte's okay. They never gave Charlotte depth ever. Miranda and Che, though, bye. I still might fast forward through the rest of them. And just to be clear, I don't dislike Che because Che is them. I just dislike Che because Che is awful. And Miranda's also, she was always my least favorite of the girls. I never really disliked her, but I absolutely dislike Miranda at this point. She could really just stay in LA with Che and they could just, continue to do Sex in the City in New York and never mention them again. And I'd be completely fine with that. All right. That's the episode. I haven't seen too much major drama, which is fine. We can keep it that way. I actually prefer episodes where we can talk about TV a little more in depth because people aren't showing their whole ass in private that's made public or just in public to begin with. All right. I will be back on Friday. My birthday is Sunday. I'm very excited. Not everything, what we've got. I hope it's sunnier where you are. It's so depressing here. God. All right. I'm out. Bye.